Good morning, Sarah.
Hello, Steff.
Good morning. So we are here on a beautiful sunny Sunday morning, which I can't believe considering I'm at the top of Scotland at the moment and you're at the south of England.
And it's been like this definitely this week. Straight after the show, it's like Monday morning. The frost has started to kick in down here, and it's like that winter time where Christmas is definitely coming. So I'd imagine people that are post show woke up Monday morning. We can relax.
Absolutely. And what I think is so great about today is it is exactly 1 week since the WNBF UK, and that's what our podcast here is all about.
Yeah, it's so weird that, like, you know, when you think about 1 week ago we were there, everything was going on, and it'd been such a long time, especially for you, preparing for the show. And it's just crazy that when anything that happens like this, a monumental thing happens in your life, and then a week passes and you think, did that just happen?
Yeah, oh my goodness, have I not felt like that many times this week? It's been a really amazing week. It's been a week full of, I'd say, exhaustion, reflection, celebration, and excitement for what's to come. But it has been a really emotional, I think, journey all around for me and Andrew because of how much you put into something like this. And then you do it. And then you come out the other end and exactly how you've just said, which is you sort of feel like, did it happen? And it did. And it went, it was an overwhelming success. It was just a phenomenal day. And it was exactly the way that we really wanted it to be. So it's great to be able to actually do this today, I think, as a bit of a reflection point, even for myself, because I haven't really vocalized any of what's been going on in my mind about it since. So yeah, and to have people like yourself as well. And for those of you listening, Sarah was one of our pro judges on the team. To have people that I know in the industry and people that have supported us with this whole vision to begin with, there, present, helping this just bring this alive, basically, was just huge. It was monumental for me and Andrew. So I'm excited to be able to almost talk about that today. As we're doing a bit of a debrief, aren't we, I guess?
Yeah. And I guess for the listeners, it'd be quite nice for you to maybe talk about when this vision started. I know that Andrew and you have always said, like, oh, you know, it'd be really cool to run a show one day or maybe be a promoter for a show, but to actually take on a federation for the UK and then do your first show, it's not as plain sailing as it could potentially be. So I don't know if you want to talk a bit about how the opportunity even came up.
Yeah, it's interesting because myself and Andrew individually, before we even sort of were together in our own right, had visions of potentially doing something like this one day. I mean, I've always been somebody I've had a background in events and performance and have always really loved the idea of how great would it be to run my own show one day. I actually remember standing in a gym in Leeds a few years back, and a chap named Steve Howarth, who graced our stage on Sunday last week in the Masters 50 class. And for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, you need to go and check out Steve Howarth. He is a long-standing member of the natural community, a professional, a champion, and is a phenomenal competitor. But a few years ago, he came to train with me in a gym in Leeds, and we were chatting away just at the reception, and I said, Steve, would you ever consider running a show? You know, you've been prolific in the industry, you'd be great at promoting a show, because I've always loved the thought of maybe doing it. Would you be interested in having that conversation? And at the time he was like, you'd have to be a mad woman, Steff, to take on a beast that is running your own show.
Correct.
We joked about that actually the other day. Steve is actually one of the first natural bodybuilders I ever watched on stage, and inspired me to keep going. One of the first people that ever gave me feedback at my first show as well. So I have a lot of respect and kind of awe for him as well. And he said something amazing to me on the day, which was, yeah, you did it. That conversation you had back then, you've actually standing here now. So in my own right, I was thinking about things way back. I never ever thought, it would ever come to anything, but it's always been a passion of mine to lead something born out of ideas and creativity. And, out of all of the different federations that I've done, I've always come away from it and gone, I love that about it. I love this about it. If I was to do it, I'd love to do X, and it's always been just the way I've thought creatively. Andrew, however, and I'm sure he would explain if he was here, he's had dreams of promoting his own show and running his own maybe Scottish show or a show that he could do for years. And I think it was really only around 2019 when he came away from the WNBF where he thought, maybe it's time for me to put all my skills of being a judge, of being a drug tester, of being a natural community supporter, a pro, an athlete, somebody the community looks up to, of doing it. And we had a conversation just sitting in the living room here. I think it was on a podcast as well, or one of our YouTubes, saying, would you like to run a show one day? And he'd say, yeah, maybe it was something he wanted to do. And eventually the opportunity, I mean, I say eventually, the opportunity just arose out of circumstances we didn't even realize about. And when we heard that WNBF was no longer going to be connected to another federation in the UK, it was like, why not? We can't let that go. This is literally the route to the elite for naturals, and we have to do something with that. We can't let that opportunity for a natural community go. And that's kind of where that all came about. Yeah, so maybe that's a long-winded answer, but that's sort of how we both thought about it, but then culminated into this opportunity. And it felt like it just felt right. It felt like the right thing to do. And when we jumped on a call with Bob and Tina, who are the presidents, and Nancy, the presidents of the WNBF worldwide, we did almost like an interview process with them. We went through a lot of things, up and down, top to bottom, about why we would want to take it on, what this means for the UK. And we all got on extremely well. It was a really honest, frank conversation about where we could go with this and what me and Andrew really needed to kind of do, I guess, for our own personal endeavours to make this a success. So yeah, it was really good. And then the rest is now been the crazy journey that is organising a giant show like this.
I think it's actually people that competed at the show and people that listen to our pod anyway, it's going to be a really nice opportunity to understand actually what goes into a show, because I definitely had a few moments where you were talking on stage, and especially when you were thanking the athletes that hadn't placed but they had competed, you could see that passion in your face, the way you spoke to them. And for me, that as an athlete, it would be everything. Yeah.
And I think a massive part of this for me was to get to really make everybody feel so inclusive of what we're trying to build. But not just build, just to, the work. Me and you have been there, and I think one of the beauties of me and Andrew being active competitors and being obviously coaches and being so immersed in this industry is understanding just how much a competitor puts into their preps, not just from a physical perspective, but psychologically. So for me, like to stand on stage and to be able to actually thank and just say to these guys that we understand, and you being here, it means a lot to us, but we value the work ethic and what you potentially might have been through in your personal lives to get to this point here, because we all know how difficult it is. It's not plain sailing, and especially this last couple of years through COVID, people have had a really rough time of it, including, at some points Andrew and I, and it's really, really been a challenge. So I'm so glad you picked up on that as well, because it was something I wanted people to feel genuine gratitude for them being there on stage. And that's something we want to continue, because that's what our ethos is. Mine and Andrew's whole premise and culture is, we're not doing this for us. This is not, you know, just for me and Andrew to stand there and go, oh, look, you know, we've got a show. This is because we feel like there is lacking in the industry more of that community and understanding of what this really is, bodybuilding. It's not just standing up there and getting a trophy. It's much more than that. It's building resilience. It's finding out who you are. It's pushing yourself through challenges in the gym. It's just so much more than that. And I'm hopeful that will filter out, and that people can start to support one another more with their endeavours. Yeah, definitely.
Like you said there, a lot of first timers and ones that I've fed back to as a judging point of view, they've thanked me because they just wanted to compete. And you know, then when I've gone back with feedback to say, okay, so condition wise X, Y and Z, you can maybe look at your bikini, you could do this with your hair, you could There's so many things that I can offer from being an athlete myself, but then looking at someone objectively on the stage. I don't know them on the day. I'm, you know, trying to be as fair as possible. And it doesn't matter where they've come from, who they are. It's the physique that's presented on the day. And you can offer that feedback. And then, especially, like I say, the first timers have come back to me and said, you know, thank you so much, because I didn't even know what I would look like when I got stage lean. So for them, it wasn't about necessarily placing. It was about, what will they look like when they get lean? Where do they go from there?
Yeah.
Which 100%. Is, you know, I know we would give as coaches as well. A lot of the time in a first prep, you need to see where you're at underneath, you know, what you're going to look like.
100%. I think as well, like just the nature there of what you said, you know, we spoke to the judging panel. We did workshop training before we even did the show. We had a discussion about what feedback really means. Because it's not enough to just say to a competitor, oh, you need to grow muscle. We're bodybuilders, of course we need to grow muscle. That's not helpful feedback, you know. Helpful feedback is exactly what you said. It's telling somebody, here's where you're at just now. Here's the areas that from that particular day, we feel that you can go away and improve on. But here are the other elements to competing that maybe you haven't thought of, and maybe you're giving a spin or a piece of advice or something that they can go away and work with and channel their energy into that ongoing. It's a humongous part of the puzzle, isn't it, of being a bodybuilder on stage. You're looking and seeking for that understanding of what you can do better for next time, and being kind of a bit more specific and precise, like you guys have been, which is phenomenal. Is again what sets precedent for the federation. You know, what other things are they giving to us as athletes to be able to come back and go, no, do you know, I competed with them, I loved my experience, and I also had something valuable and tangible to take away that I can actually then put into my training and my prep and everything else for the next time.
Yeah, because I'd imagine you're exactly the same as me. If I've ever been able to get feedback, straight away I tell Stephen, my coach, and my training plan potentially for the next, you know, year could be based on that one bit of feedback from a judge. And I don't, sometimes, I'm not saying judges don't realise that, but with the industry as a whole and competing and bodybuilding, some of the feedback I've had, I just think, what am I meant to do with that? You know, it's not constructive. It's work on that, and that's it. You know, and you really don't know. And I have, on the other side of the coin, I have had some really good detailed feedback, and that's really bloody helped me. So you know, it's night and day as to how you're actually going to impact someone's life. You know, it's not just a case of you give feedback and they shelve that. They could potentially build their whole training plan, their nutrition, everything on that feedback. So it's a serious part to it. And like you say, that's where we want to be separated as a federation that really does nourish that side of things as well.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And inevitably it comes down to people who care. You know, like, we really care. That's why we've began this whole journey. There's no way in hell, you know, Andrew and I would have taken on this vehicle that is the WNBF if we didn't feel extremely passionate about exactly what you've just explained, giving athletes platform to showcase their best, but to go away with something that feels like, yeah, I feel fully supported by that federation, like fully. And I think when we talk about why we decided to do this, it was pulling on things that we felt were lacking.
Yeah.
This isn't to say that they are, but from a personal experience and from the years and years that Andrew and I have been competing, the experience we've built up, the endless conversations that we've had, where could we ensure that the journey for the athlete, you know, is fully catered for, as every part of that journey is a great experience, you know, pre the stage, on the stage, post the stage, and reasons as to why you'd want to be part of the WNBF culture. Not only, you know, we're very lucky that the WNBF is the natural world IFBB, if you like, of this side of the sport. We've been there. It's where you need to get to if you want to be recognized as a phenomenal natural athlete. It's probably the most respected and regarded natural federation in the whole world. So for us to be able to give that, it's not a question of, oh, any one little bit can just be like, oh, well, we don't really need to bother with that. Because the WNBF is so prestigious, the WNBF UK has to emulate everything that the WNBF stands for. And so that's kind of the premise we have. And part of the whole, I suppose, you know, vision of WNBF UK is taking natural bodybuilding and leveling up to a professional show that people want to really be part of, like, you know, the larger federations in the UK, which are on the open side of the circuit, you know, PCAs, etc. PCA does a phenomenal job. I've been to their shows. That you walk into a show with PCA, you sit in an audience, and oh my God, I want to be there all day. The vibe is so energetic. It's so much fun. And for me, I wanted people to come to WNBF UK and feel that energy and buzz that I felt at certain shows. And this is what I mean by pulling on different federations. We've not only just gone away and gone, okay, what do we love about the natural federations? We've gone away and looked at everything and gone, okay, what do we, me and Andrew, want out of this show, so that when somebody walks in a WNBF UK door and they sit in a seat, whether they're a spectator or whether they're backstage as an athlete or a judge or anybody else who's involved, that they go, geez, that was a freaking fun day. I had so much fun. And that's the whole thing about this. It's, remember, bodybuilding, it can be serious, not to the point where it it just kind of, just dumbs down the fun element of this. It's got to be, yes, we're putting top level athletes through their paces. Yes, we're looking for the best of natural talent. Yes, we're obviously acknowledging hard work. But we're all here to enjoy this sport and have a really good time. And that's kind of the whole thing about it. The WNBF UK stands for that. So, yeah.
Basically the whole experience, isn't it?
Yeah, top to bottom.
That was what was really nice. Like you say, this week it's been like a reflective time.
Yeah,
there's been good feedback. I don't think I've actually heard any, not even constructive or negative. When we stayed after and we spoke to a few athletes after the show had finished, there was one girl that I'd met the week before at an FM UK show. And we were talking, and she was, oh, I'm competing next week. And I was like, oh, where are you competing? And she said, WNBF. Oh, I'll be there. And then I saw her on the day and it was really nice. And she was saying, you know, we'd spoken about things like off season and what athletes need to put in, especially being a first timer, to then come back stronger. Mm-hmm. And her name's Rimini, and I think she's got, you know, such a good potential. And she said, I'll be back to WNBF. And we were talking about doing like year to a year and a half off season, then a prep. So we're talking about someone that's going to come back in 2 years time and focus on our show as quite a big, you know, thing for her to focus on. And that's someone's life for 2 years. And it's such a nice way to look at it. And someone wants to come back and be part of that family. And that's exactly what you're basically saying there, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so great to hear from Renee, because I spoke to quite a few people and I've had a lot of conversations post the show in, you know, on socials, on emails, etc.
Yeah.
And that consensus is really coming through. I'll be back. I'm hitting the supernaturals in 22 or 23. And I love that, because I want to come back and prove myself there, or I want to come back and enjoy that show and try and push for it again. And I think that's exactly the feeling we wanted people to go away with. Like, yeah. So it's good. It's great. I mean, I've been really, really kind of clear with you guys, with the crew, with quite a lot of the athletes and spectators as well. Give us feedback. What went great? What didn't go so well? What are the things you want more of? Because that's how you evolve and grow as a company, or as a business, or as a federation. You know, we want to hear and implement, so that the experience can only get better and better and better for our athletes, and for everybody who's involved in it. Yes,
I mean, I know on the day and the night before, and from an organisational point of view, as an athlete, you turn up and you compete. But I was there when you were lining up the letters, and you know, W had a bit more light on it than the N, and things like that. You don't even, it's not even in your conscious mind as an athlete. And I really do feel like, as a federation, there's so much to come, because it's detail on detail on detail. We just want, and that was for photos, you know, we want the best.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, that whole breakdown. I mean, I had literally had like key things in mind. Like, I wanted things at specific areas for, I had Fivos, who I need to shout out, show shoots photography. Fiv is the best in the business. He literally is. He has been a fundamental part in giving his input into quality of making sure, you know, the athletes get shots that are going to be memorable, etc. Just everything, those details, having everything in the same line, the lighting, keeping every single element of the stage looking a certain way, so that overall the experience was captured top to toe. I mean, there is so much that goes into it. And, you know, I think a big part of this for me is, because, again, of my background, when you're putting something on a stage, the visual representation of that is ginormous. You know, it's so important. And it doesn't just become a bodybuilding show anymore. It is a spectacle. It is a performance. It is something that people, even from other walks of life, when they look at it, you want them to feel a certain thing or get something from those images or that video. And then, so that's only going to get better and better and better, because that's the key bit I'm passionate about. I've already come away from it and like, I've got itchy feet to just do a couple of things for next year already. But I was so happy with how the actual set, the visual, the representation of kind of what we visioned in our head came to life. So it's good. It's good.
Much, because I didn't see backstage at all. How were we getting good feedback as to, you know, pumping up and the changing rooms and everything like that?
Yeah, the feedback that we've had about our crew, and this is hats off to everybody, and I know a few of them will be listening to this, they all threw themselves into this. We had a kind of a crew meeting, if you like, the day before. We gave structured roles. We wanted people to be really clear on what they were doing. The feedback of the crew and how it all went, honestly, has probably been the most consistent piece of feedback I've had through the entire like conversations I've been having, which is, your guys backstage were brilliant. They were so efficient. We knew where to go. We knew where pump up was. People were really helpful. You know, I've had really good conversations with people generally about that part of the process. And I think people forget that as well. You know, when you're an athlete backstage, and you're trying to figure out where to be on time, where it is and whatever, and you feel like you can't go up and speak to the guy that's standing there or the female that's standing there, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Whereas, the backstage crew need to be really kind of ready to answer any questions and make people feel at ease. And I think they went above and beyond with that. And I couldn't ask for more they all knew that this was such a big deal for us, and they all threw in their total energy fully, top to bottom. So now that we've obviously got the first one under our belt, I'd like to be able to do more for the crew and for all of you guys, because it's such a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Effectively, they are the mums and dads of backstage, if you want to call it that, aren't they? They're like they're just the people that in any urgent need or panic, they're there. And it's really, really vital. So no, feedback for the crew has been ace. So thank you to the whole crew. I mean, they already know how grateful I am, but yeah.
Really cool Pat there, because I've seen Pat at a few shows, and he's that great sense of calm. And you know, he's competed before and he's been on the scene for so long. I know he's a CMP athlete, and you know, they were there as well. And you get that element of another chain to the family, don't you? You know, if someone's worked as an athlete with the supplement company that's then show, you know, there's all these mutual vibes which breed a really good atmosphere.
Yeah, Pat was ace. You know, I think Pat must have thought I was off my head, because I was like, you know, I was like coming on and off the stage doing the hosting and then going off to the side, and Pat would just be like, "You cool?" And no, it was good. It was good. He was great. CMP were phenomenal. Shout out to Chris and the guys. You know, they just believed in everything that we've done from the start, and they made it such a great day for the athletes as well. They were just, their presence there was awesome. They had just such a great vibe, a good energy. They've captured the day so well as well. So for me, having CMP there was giant, because I know Chris, we go back quite a long way, and we just have such a good connection with what we're trying to achieve, and I know that he's going to be an integral part of that as well. So it's been good because we've got the right people, and it all goes back to that culture we're trying to build. Everybody involved in this is part of that energy. We're not, me and Andrew have always been for bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding. We love it. And you know, it's not been an easy year getting to where we are here with the WNBF UK. There's been a lot of resistance from some of, you know, the other natural organizations, which is a shame. It's a real shame. Perhaps in the future that will change. I'm not sure. But I think, you know, what I'm trying to say with that is we're just not interested in being anything but who we are, what we're about, and pushing forward with that vision, and welcoming people into that culture and atmosphere. And it's just really exciting, because I think we never maybe saw ourselves being able to have the opportunity to give back as much as we have got now to the industry. And yeah, we're just wanting to do it right, and continue to grow with that. So it's good. It's really, really good.
Is there any big things, I'll put you on the spot now, that you're thinking we definitely need to change, or is it more tweaking things?
No, it's more tweaks. Yeah. I wanted to. Well, actually, I'm not going to go down that route too much, because I'm going to save it for the next one. The key things that I think could have been tweaked a wee bit are just things like, so for our listeners and anybody who knew already, we did actually speak about this pre the show. We had an electronic judging system. The electronic judging system needed a few wee things to make sure it was efficient for anybody who did not turn up, for example. And there was a couple of disconnects there, but there was something that's something me and Andrew have already been able to sort. So we know what to do there. Other things, gosh, it's hard. I feel like I'm going to just kind of thank Andrew and I guess my own work ethic here. We just went all in for months, going through every detail, top to bottom, like honestly, endless evenings in this house, just going through the athlete journey, through the spectator's journey, through the judge's journey, through the backstage journey, through the sponsors journey, you know, so that it was very clear from the get-go what we were trying to do when we got into that place. So I feel that although, yes, of course, like with anything, you can come away and you must do a debrief and a kind of an analysis of what could go better. I feel like we managed to do almost 99% of what we set out to. And for that, I mean, it's been all worth it. It really has. And it's been extremely challenging. There has been moments, I'm not going to lie, where, you know, I thought, God, why are we taking on this huge thing? And I'm so glad that we stuck to our guns and followed through with it, because there's been quite a few points where I felt very like not comfortable with being in the limelight of doing something like this.
Yeah.
But I know what our why is, and that's carried me through it. And that's for the community, for the athletes, for everybody who's involved in natural bodybuilding. I want to give back what I've had the opportunities to do. So yeah, without I guess getting a bit emotional, ask me in a few years and I'll be like, oh, it's all cool, so it's all a breeze. This first one has been it's like a prep. It's been a roller coaster, a total roller coaster of highs, lows, struggles, total success moments, awesome people being involved, but also challenges that, you know, we never anticipated we'd have to come up against, but we've powered through them. So it's been great. Yeah, it's been a really, really rewarding journey, and now a stage that's recognised.
Yeah.
Like you say, I want everyone to do supernaturals every year. The supernatural is the natural stage of the year. That's it.
And that's the vision.
That's the vision. Mm-hmm.
We had a conversation, didn't we, about it is like a prep, because the next day, after a show, you wake oh my God. Did
that happen? Was that real? I think I said to you before I got on this call, I was absolutely decked on the Monday. Central nervous system, totally wired, total run on adrenaline, like, whoa, what happened? Yeah, I think it's, you know, when Andrew sometimes says to me, like, Steff, your expectations you have such high expectations, like they're too high. You need to kind of be realistic. And to some degree, he's right. But I also believe that if you don't set your expectations and have a vision here, yeah, some people never think it's actually ever possible. When it is, you just have to have humongous amounts of grit to go for it. And I wanted to make a statement with WNBF UK. You know, it was a case of going, we've arrived. This is what natural bodybuilding should be, what I want it to be, and what we are now going to give you guys an opportunity to have as part of your natural circuit. And it's just like giant for me, because it can be something awesome. And the WNBF UK for me is about bigger, better, moving forwards in the right way, with the right values, right culture, and setting precedent for an awesome area in the sport for naturals to compete and hopefully get that lovely, wonderful journey to the WNBF, or to at least come back year on year and get there. And yeah, I'd love to see more collaboration in the community as a whole. Hopefully that will happen in time. But for now, where I'm at is trying to deliver something that is unique, fresh, forward-thinking, and something that everyone can channel their energies into enjoying. And that's it, basically. Yeah.
Is it, you know, your analogy there where, you know, if you don't aim right at the top, you don't know what you can achieve. Also, you know, if you aim ridiculously high for what you want to achieve, and if you fall short of that, you're still going to achieve an amazing thing. But, you know, it can be even more amazing. And I see that with your physique and your mindset, and everything across the board. Why not aim scarily high? Like, be scared, you know, like
it's a conversation. Do you know what? I'd love to do a podcast on this, on expectations and aiming high. My whole life I've been like that. You know, it's been to my absolute win and my absolute failing. It's amazing, because when you I mean, I've never done things by halves ever in my whole life, and it's hard, because I think when you go in at that level all the time, you will crash at certain points, and I have done at certain points. But when you visualize something so much, like when we do with our physiques, and I do this in my own preparations as well, you know, or my own physical endeavors, there is a point where you realize your own capabilities, and you don't settle. So for me, like, I go, okay, I can achieve this. I'm not going to settle until I achieve that. And it's always been the sort of same thing with the WNBF UK. Like, I've had a vision in my head. Me and Andrew have, you know, really thought long and hard about this. We've not gone into this with like cloaked, like, or sorry, I suppose,
like cloud, you know.
Yeah, we've not gone into this being like rabbits caught in headlights. Like, you know, we went into this knowing what we were getting ourselves into. We didn't kind of go into it thinking, oh, it's going to be easy. But I equally knew that if we were going to take hold of this, we couldn't do it half-arsed at all. It had to be here or nothing at all. And so there is a balance that's needed with that. And that's something I would love to chat to Sarah. We'd have to do that. But yeah, it's something, if you're going to do something like this, go in and go all in and make it something that you can go away from and go, hell yeah, that's where the bar is set. Now let's push even more. That's my mindset in everything.
I find it so cathartic when I'm really scared by my goals. Like, I love that, you know. Even every year at Christmas, I write down a few goals for the following year, and I just think, I can't wait to achieve that, but it scares the shit out of me. But I'm contributing to that goal, strive intrinsically to achieve that or achieve close to that, and then have something else to aim for and continue your path, whether that's in life as a competitor, in normal life, or whatever you're doing. You know, it's such a good way to look at things. But again, some people don't want to look at things like that. That it's just not within their, you know, personality or how they're made up, and that's fine as well. But as competitors, generally we are of that nature.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it is sometimes what would I say? Like, you know, the cheesy saying of life is what you make it kind of thing. You know, you make your outcomes. You are the decider of your own destiny and what you put your effort into. And you're only here for such a short period of time, you know. And I know, without going all woo-woo and kind of into the like spirituality side of things, I think, you know, I've been through a lot of things, and I've let a lot of things in my past, I guess, take control of my own confidence. And you can really fall short of yourself if you let external things control you. You know what I mean? And a big part of pushing towards something as big as something like we've just done here, or your own physique, or whatever you're doing in life, is to remind, I guess, yourself what you're capable of, and to rebuild or re-energize yourself if you've been through any, you know, anything really, or perhaps you feel like people don't believe you can do something. You know, there's a lot of different reasons as to why, but I think if you don't just go for it and just take a risk or take a chance, or, you know, maybe the job you're doing you hate, leave it, go on and do something else. Maybe you're in a relationship that doesn't serve you anymore, do the right thing, don't stay in it for the next 6 years. You know, theyese sorts of things they're all the same sort of premise. If gut instinct is telling you something, take control of it and drive forwards with it. It can take a lot of time to get there, but I think certainly for me, a big part of this journey to the WNBF UK and running this event has been a real personal journey for myself to rebuild some of my own confidence out of really big struggles that I've had as well. And not giving up on yourself. It's when I go back to that little bit earlier I said to you about, you know, there's been quite a few times where I've thought, what the hell am I doing? And I think whenever you take on something which is a physical endeavor or something bigger where eyes are on you or whatever else, you do at points doubt yourself, and it's a normal part of that journey. But if you're doing something for the right reason, genuinely, you just got to stick through it and go with it, and you will prevail at some point.
Yeah, and that definitely came across, like I mentioned earlier, some of the moments where it was almost like I could feel your passion when you were talking to the athletes and when you were, you know, talking to the audience, and that's exactly what we want. And we know as athletes ourselves what people go through to get to stage. And yes, it's a choice, but
yeah.
You know, some people don't even make it to the stage. And we've spoken about that before. I hadn't realised, you know, because we are the way we are, if I say I'm in prep, I'm competing. It's as simple as that. Whereas some people don't, you know, they might do 4 to 6 weeks of a prep and go, it's not for me. You know, so that achievement in itself to even get to the stage. And I feel like the athletes certainly that I've spoken to, it sounds the same for you, they got that vibe. They felt welcome. They felt part of a family. There's no prerequisites. All we require is that you know, come in with doing your best, good energies, and wanting to enjoy the day.
100%. And, you know, I think there's a really key thing there that, like, what is competition? And this is an interesting one because I've spoken to a lot of people in the DMs about this. The nature of competition is fierce. You know, competition is not a comfortable place to be. You're going into a show to compete against other people, to battle it out, to potentially win, to potentially lose. But the most important thing is the culture that competition is happening in can support both emotional outcomes.
Yeah.
It can support the losses and help people grow and get better. And it can support the winners and then allow the winners to be inspiration for others as well. And I think the environment in which competition is run is vital, because if you compete somewhere with a negative atmosphere, it's challenging in its own right.
Yeah, it's hard.
For both, for winners and for losers. You know, so for me, you've still got to come into competition being a competitor. You've got to be ready for the nature of competition. Nature of competition means there will be winners and there will be losers, and you've got to be ready for both. And you've got to be humble with it. But we are providing, you know, a culture where we support and help both outcomes, you know, grow. And I think that's huge for the WNBF UK and huge for me and Andrew, from both being on both sides of the coin, you know, for many years. So it's competition is something people have to understand, because it's not easy. And we've said this in hundreds of podcasts before. It's not easy doing 40, potentially 50 plus weeks of work, sacrificing life, sacrificing social stuff, sacrificing maybe a lot of other things for a choice to do a competition and then get to the competition, and you maybe don't get the outcome you want. It's hard. You've got to be ready for that. But, you know, the one thing I cringe at or I find difficult is when people go away and go, I was robbed, or this hasn't worked, or that's always going to be, there are always going to be people who do that. And that's fair. That's part of it, I guess. But what I would say is a huge lesson that I learned early on in my career, and something I hope to achieve through, the sort of the mission statement almost of WNBF UK is welcome the challenge of competition, understand it, and be a true sportsman. That's key.
Amen.
Because you can be humble in win and you can be humble in defeat. And you both shake hands at the end of it and go, fair play, we've both done the work. And that's, I think, a beautiful way to kind of wrap up, you know, what this is all about. Celebrating competition for what it is and having a lot of fun doing it in an environment which supports everybody.
Yeah. And I've got to say, before we finish, thank you for the opportunity, because, you know, even meeting the team, I've met some that are part of the team that I feel I'm going to be friends with for the rest of my life, and also picking up with some of the crew that I've spoken to on Instagram for like 2 years and I've never met, and now we've been able to have that face-to-face contact. And for me, being able to be part of a federation that offers the athletes exactly what we've spoken about today, it almost brings a tear to my eye, because I just feel so passionate about helping competitors and being able to share that experience with them. It's phenomenal. So thank you to you and Andrew for entrusting me into the family.
Our pro bikini competitor and judge for the WNBF UK, it is an actual pleasure, genuinely. You know, this here as well, meeting people through the industry. If I hadn't met certain people through the industry, there's no way I would be here where I am now. And that's what it's all about: sharing opportunities, giving people the chance to be more part of it. Especially, and I'm not going to go all I'm not going to go all feminist here, but especially women. You know, there's not a lot of us in the federation world, I guess, that are in the fitness world generally, the bodybuilding scene. So it's great to have advocates like yourself, you know, people who genuinely are speaking more and more and more openly about the sport, which gives people more education, more understanding. It's great. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Amazing. So normally we'd sign out saying, you know, get in touch with our Instagram, so Sarah Parker and Steff Noble, but is there, I guess, scope to sort of mention that people can reach out on the WNBF UK Instagram if they want to?
Yeah, 100%, guys. So, you know, if anyone's interested in going having a look at it, who's interested in competing, wants more info, it's at WNBF _UK. If you can't find it, just head over to mine. You'll find it on there. And yeah, we're about to launch our dates for 2022. So I'm not going to drop them in here yet because I'm not allowed to, but we will be putting dates for 22 out. We will be obviously keeping you guys all in the loop. We are going to be doing a lot of things through the year in relation to the federation, which are not about the stage. So keep your eyes peeled on that. And yeah, we're really just looking forward to celebrating more successful shows in the future. And for this year, to everybody who was involved in it, spectated, competed, sponsored, came and helped us with photos, music, everything. Thank you so much to our judges as well. Obviously, you guys, without you, the show could not have happened. So yeah, awesome. Thanks, Sarah, as well, for doing this with me, because it's been a really useful, I think, reflection process for myself as well. Let's now, the WNBF UK is here. We have arrived. So let's now continue this awesome journey.
No, thank you, Steff. And we will sign out with, we are the WNBF. See you later, Sarah.
See you later, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Bye.